Have you ever stopped believing in yourself? Think about that question for a moment. Maybe you had a dream, a big dream, but then something happened, and you felt it was impossible. Maybe you wanted to learn English. You started, but it felt too hard. The grammar confused you. The words disappeared from your memory. You made mistakes, and people laughed. And slowly, you began to believe that you were not good enough. This is a story about that feeling. This is a story about losing hope and then finding it again. It is not only my story, and it is not only a story of one person. It is also your story. Because every person, in every country, in every language, has moments when they lose faith in themselves. But the truth is this: you can always find hope again. This video is not just for listening. It is for your heart. Listen slowly. Repeat words if you want. Feel the story. Take the lesson. And believe again. So I ask you once more, have you ever stopped believing in yourself? Today, let us walk together through a story that will help you believe again. Before we begin, I want to invite you. Not just to listen, but to join this journey with me. Think of this story like a small road. At the beginning, the road is dark. It feels lonely. You cannot see the way forward. But if you walk with me step by step, the light will return. At the end of this road, you will feel stronger, more hopeful, more ready for your own future. As you listen, I want you to do something: imagine the pictures in your mind. When I say, a boy feels sad, imagine the boy. When I say, a girl tries again, imagine her face. This is not only English practice. It is life practice. The words are simple, but the feelings are deep. So take a deep breath now. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear a story that may change how you see yourself? I hope your answer is yes. Because this is not just about English. It is about life, hope, and the power of small steps. Once there was a boy. His name was Daniel. Daniel was not special in the way the world thinks of special. He was not rich. He was not very smart in school. He was not popular. He was just an ordinary boy. But inside him, he carried dreams. He wanted to do something great. He wanted to speak English, because he believed English could open doors for him. Maybe he could study abroad. Maybe he could travel. Maybe he could make friends from around the world. But life was not kind to Daniel. In school, he tried, but his English teacher was strict and impatient. When Daniel forgot words, the teacher became angry. When Daniel made mistakes, other students laughed. Day after day, his dream became smaller. He started to tell himself, I cannot learn. I am not smart. I will never succeed. Maybe you also know this feeling. Do you remember a time you wanted something, but every try ended in failure? That is what Daniel felt every day. Slowly, hope left his heart. Daniel's sadness grew like a heavy stone inside him. Each morning, he woke up and thought, why try? I will only fail again. He sat in class, but he did not listen. He looked at his books, but the words were only black marks on white paper. English became a wall, a tall wall that he could never climb. He stopped dreaming about traveling. He stopped believing he had a future. His parents told him, study harder, but they did not understand his pain. His friends moved forward, but Daniel felt stuck in the same place. Do you know this feeling? Have you ever felt like everyone is running ahead, and you are the only one left behind? That is the loneliness of lost hope. It is like standing in the middle of a crowd, but feeling invisible. Daniel felt invisible, useless, broken. And the saddest part was this: he began to believe that this was his true self. That he was only the boy who cannot. When we hear Daniel's story, it may sound far away. But maybe, it is not far. Maybe it is close to your own life. Maybe you are also learning English, and sometimes you feel you will never succeed. Maybe you want to change your job, or start something new, but your mind whispers, you can't. You are too weak. You are too late. Daniel's story is not just his story. It is also a mirror, showing us our own fears. Think about your own journey. Have you ever given up on something important? Have you ever told yourself, I will never be good enough? If yes, then you and Daniel are not so different. The good news is this: Daniel's story does not end with sadness. There is more. There is light waiting after the dark. And the same is true for you. No matter how lost you feel today, no matter how many mistakes you have made, there is always a new road. And today, as you listen, maybe you will find the first step on your own new road. One night, Daniel sat alone in his small room. The house was quiet. Outside, the moon was shining, but Daniel did not see its beauty. He was only thinking about his failures. His books were on the table, but he did not want to open them. He felt tired, not only in his body but also in his heart. He whispered to himself, why should I try again? Every time I try, I fail. Every time I hope, I get hurt. His words were heavy, like stones falling to the ground. He remembered the times in school when other students laughed at his mistakes. He remembered the red marks on his tests. He remembered his teacher's angry face. All these memories came back like sharp knives. And he asked himself a painful question, am I useless? Is my life going to be like this forever? Tears came to his eyes, but he did not wipe them away. He let them fall, because he felt too weak to fight. In that moment, Daniel believed his dream was finished. He thought, maybe English is not for me. Maybe success is not for me. Maybe I am not enough. Have you ever felt like this? Have you ever sat in the dark and thought your dream was over? If yes, then you understand Daniel's night. It was not just a night of quiet. It was a night of doubt, of fear, of losing himself. But sometimes, when we reach the darkest night, it means that the morning is near. The next day, Daniel went to school, but his heart was still heavy from the night before. He sat in the back of the classroom, hoping no one would notice him. The teacher started the English lesson. She asked a question in English, and for a moment, Daniel thought he might try to answer. But then fear came. His hands shook. His mouth stayed closed. He told himself, if I speak, I will make a mistake. If I make a mistake, everyone will laugh. So he said nothing. Another student answered, and the class continued, but Daniel felt smaller and smaller inside. Later, the teacher gave back their tests. Daniel saw a big red number at the top of his paper, 30 out of 100. It was another failure. The teacher frowned and said, you must work harder. But Daniel did not know how. He was already trying, but nothing worked. On his way home, he walked slowly. The other students laughed and talked with energy, but Daniel's steps were heavy, like he carried stones on his back. He felt invisible, like the world did not care if he was there or not. At home, his parents asked, how was your day? He smiled a little and said, it was okay, but inside, he wanted to cry. The truth was, every day felt like a battle he could not win. He struggled with words, with grammar, with listening, with speaking, with his own confidence. It was not only English he was failing at. He was failing to believe in himself. And that is the hardest struggle of all. Have you ever felt like Daniel? Have you ever wanted to speak but stayed silent? Have you ever wanted to try but gave up before starting? That is what it means to carry heavy struggles. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel's silence grew. In class, he almost never raised his hand. When the teacher asked for volunteers, he looked down at his desk. He hoped her eyes would pass over him, like clouds moving past the sun. Sometimes, she did not call his name, and he felt safe. But other times, she said, Daniel, answer the question. His heart beat fast. His face turned red. He wanted to speak, but the words stuck inside his throat like stones. When he finally tried, the sounds came out broken. The other students laughed quietly, and Daniel felt fire on his face. After class, some boys joked, "Daniel cannot even say hello properly." They did not mean deep harm, but their words cut him like knives. He carried those words home. At night, he thought about them again and again. Each time he remembered, the shame grew bigger. He began to believe the jokes were true. He began to think, "I am stupid. I am hopeless." Do you know this feeling? Do you remember a time when someone laughed at your mistake, and you never forgot it? That is how shame works. Shame is like a shadow that follows you everywhere. Even when no one is laughing, you still hear the echo inside your head. Daniel's silence was not just about fear. It was about shame. He felt he did not belong in the classroom. He felt he did not belong in success. He felt he did not belong in dreams. And slowly, that silence became his prison. At first, Daniel only felt weak in English class. But slowly, the weakness spread to other parts of his life. He began to lose interest in math, in science, in sports. He stopped playing soccer with his friends, because he thought, "What is the point? I am not good at anything." When he came home, he no longer opened his books with energy. He just stared at the pages, then closed them again. His parents worried, but they did not understand the deep pain in his heart. They said, "Daniel, study harder. Work harder. You must be strong." But Daniel was already tired. His dream of speaking English started to disappear, like smoke in the wind. At first, he wanted to travel the world. He wanted to meet people, to make friends, to see new places. But now, when he thought about that dream, it felt far away, like a star in the night sky, beautiful but impossible to touch. He told himself, "Dreams are for other people, not for me." Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever looked at your dream and thought it was too far, too high, too impossible? That is how Daniel felt every single day. He was young, but already he carried the sadness of someone much older. His hope was small, like a candle that was about to die. One strong wind, one more failure, and it would be gone completely. Daniel did not know it yet, but this moment, this slow fading of dreams, was not the end of his story. It was only the beginning of something new. One afternoon, Daniel sat in the library. Around him, other students were busy. Some were writing, some were reading, some were laughing with friends. But Daniel just sat with an English book open in front of him. The words danced on the page, but none of them made sense. He tried to read one sentence again and again, but every time, he forgot the meaning. His head began to hurt. He closed the book and whispered to himself, "I cannot do this anymore." At that moment, he felt his dream completely break. It was like holding a glass in your hand and watching it fall to the floor, shattering into 1,000 small pieces. He felt broken inside. He thought, "Maybe I am not made for learning. Maybe I am not made for success." His chest felt heavy, and his eyes filled with tears, but he quickly wiped them away because he did not want anyone to see. For the first time, Daniel thought about giving up completely, not only on English, but on all his dreams. He thought, "I will just live a small life. I will not try anymore. I will just survive, not dream." Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever wanted to give up on something you once loved? That is the breaking point. It is the lowest moment, the darkest place. Many people stop here and never try again. But sometimes, life has a surprise waiting for us after the breaking point. Sometimes, when everything feels lost, a small light begins to shine. Daniel did not know it yet, but something new was about to enter his life, something that would change everything. The next week, Daniel was walking home from school. His bag felt heavy, not because of the books inside, but because of his sadness. His steps were slow. He looked down at the ground, not wanting to see anyone. As he passed by a small park, he heard the sound of children playing. Their laughter filled the air, but for Daniel, it only made him feel more alone. He sat down on a bench, put his bag beside him, and sighed. Just then, an older man sat at the other end of the bench. The man had kind eyes and a soft smile. He looked at Daniel and said gently, "You look tired, my boy. Is everything okay?" Daniel was surprised. Nobody usually asked him such a question. For a moment, he thought about staying silent. But something about the man's voice felt safe, so Daniel whispered, "I am no good at anything. I keep failing. I cannot learn. I cannot succeed." The man listened without interrupting. His eyes did not judge, and his face showed no anger. He only nodded slowly, as if he understood every word. After a long pause, the man said, "You are not failing. You are only learning. Mistakes are not the end. Mistakes are the beginning." Daniel looked at him with confusion. No one had ever said that to him before. Could it be true? Could mistakes really be part of learning? The man smiled again and said, "I will tell you something important, but only if you promise not to give up yet." Daniel did not answer, but for the first time in many months, he felt a small spark of curiosity inside his heart. The man looked up at the sky for a moment, then turned back to Daniel. "When I was your age," he began, "I also thought I was a failure. I could not read well. I could not speak well. In school, I was always the last one in class. My teachers told me I was lazy. My classmates laughed at me. Even my family sometimes thought I would never succeed. I remember walking home with tears in my eyes, thinking, I will never be good at anything." Daniel listened carefully. It sounded so much like his own life. The man continued, "But one day, something changed. I met a teacher who told me, 'You are not stupid. You only need more time. Every person learns in a different way. If you keep trying, step by step, you will find your own way.'" At first, I did not believe her. I thought it was just kind words. But I decided to try one more time. Slowly, very slowly, I started to improve. I made mistakes, yes. I made hundreds of mistakes. But each mistake taught me something new. And little by little, I grew stronger. Daniel's eyes widened. He had never heard an adult speak so openly about failure. The man smiled gently and said, "Do you see, my boy? I was once like you. Lost, afraid, ashamed. But because I did not give up completely, I found my path. And you can too. Your story is not finished. You are only in the middle of the book. The ending is still waiting for you to write." Daniel felt something he had not felt in a long time, a small drop of hope. The man leaned closer to Daniel and said softly, "Here is something very important, do not try to change everything at once. Take one small step every day. One small step is better than no step at all." Daniel looked at him with curiosity. "One small step?" he asked quietly. The man nodded. "Yes. If you try to speak 5 English words today, that is one step. If you read one sentence, that is one step. If you do something small, it is already a victory. Do not worry about being perfect. Perfection is an enemy of progress. Mistakes are your friends. They tell you where to improve. They tell you where you are learning." Daniel thought about the words. They were simple, but they felt heavy with meaning. For years, he had been trying to be perfect. He wanted to speak English without mistakes. He wanted to read without forgetting words. He wanted to be the best, but every time, he failed and felt terrible. Now, the man was telling him it was okay to be small, to be slow, and to make mistakes. Daniel felt a small smile appear on his face. Can I really try again?" he asked softly. The man nodded, smiling warmly. Of course. You do not have to be fast. You do not have to be perfect. You only have to try one step at a time. Daniel thought about his broken dreams, the failures, the sadness, the shame. For the first time in months, he thought, maybe I can try again. Maybe I can start small. Maybe my story is not finished. The man stood up and patted Daniel on the shoulder. Remember, my boy, he said, the journey is not easy, but every journey begins with a first step. Take that step today. Daniel watched him walk away. His heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. For the first time, he believed that maybe, just maybe, he could start moving forward again. After the man walked away, Daniel stayed on the bench for a long time. He looked at his bag, at his English books, at the quiet park around him. His heart felt a little lighter, but also a little scared. Could he really start again? Could he really try after so many failures? He remembered the man's words, one small step is better than no step at all. Mistakes are your friends. Slowly, Daniel took out his notebook from his bag. He opened it to a blank page. At first, he did not know what to write. His hand shook. He thought about giving up before even starting. But then he remembered the first step idea. He wrote one word. Just one word. It was, hello. He smiled. It was not a big word. It was not perfect. But it was a step. Then he wrote another word, friend. Another step. Another small victory. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt hope growing inside him. His heart said, maybe I can do this. Maybe I am not finished. Maybe I can learn again. He did not try to write a whole page, or a whole story. He only tried one small action. And yet, it felt like a mountain had moved inside him. That night, when Daniel went home, he told himself quietly, tomorrow, I will try one more step. Maybe he would learn one sentence. Maybe he would speak one phrase. It did not matter if it was small. What mattered was that he tried. And that is how change begins. One small action. One small step. One moment of courage. Have you ever taken a small step after a long time of fear? Do you remember how it felt? Daniel had just taken his first step. And that step would lead him forward, slowly but surely, toward something new, toward hope, toward himself. The next morning, Daniel woke up early. For the first time in a long time, he felt a little excitement in his chest. He remembered the man's words, one small step is better than no step at all. Daniel took his notebook from the table and opened it to the page where he had written, hello, and, friend. Today, he decided to try a little more. He copied a short sentence from his English book, I like learning English. He read it slowly, word by word. At first, he stumbled on learning, but he did not stop. He read it again. Then he wrote the sentence on his notebook. He felt a small smile appear on his face. It was not perfect, but it was something. He whispered to himself, I did it. One more step. The feeling was strange and wonderful. His heart, heavy for so long, now felt lighter. That small victory reminded him that learning could be enjoyable. Later, in class, he raised his hand to answer one simple question. His voice was soft and shaky, but he said the correct answer. The teacher nodded, and for the first time, Daniel felt proud of himself. Nobody laughed. Nobody judged. It was only a small success, but for Daniel, it was huge. Have you ever felt proud of something small? Maybe you learned one word in English. Maybe you spoke one sentence. That small step can change your day, your week, your life. Daniel realized something important, every success starts with tiny actions. Mistakes are still there, yes, but mistakes no longer feel like the end. Mistakes now feel like teachers, guiding him to the next step. That day, Daniel wrote another sentence in his notebook: "I can try again." He repeated it several times. He looked at the words carefully, and he believed them, little by little. And that is how hope grows, not with giant leaps, but with small, patient steps forward. Sparkles. That's paragraph 15, 400 words, showing Daniel's first small success and the start of his forward journey. Do you want me to continue with paragraph 16, showing more of Daniel's steady progress and repeated small victories? You said. 16. ChatGPT said. Absolutely glowing star. Let's continue with paragraph 16, around 400 words, continuing Daniel's small steps forward journey in simple, inspirational A2, B1 English. After his first small victory, Daniel felt a tiny spark inside him. That spark grew slowly, like a seed in the ground. Each day, he decided to take one small step in English. Some days, he read a sentence. Some days, he wrote one paragraph. Some days, he tried to speak a few words to his classmates. At first, it was hard. Sometimes he forgot the words. Sometimes he made mistakes. Sometimes he felt embarrassed. But now, when he made a mistake, he remembered what the old man had said: mistakes are your friends. They tell you where you are learning. This thought helped him not to give up. Slowly, he began to feel a little more confident. He raised his hand more often in class. He answered small questions. He spoke in front of the teacher and other students. His voice was not loud at first, but it grew stronger every time he tried. One day, he read a short story in English without stopping. He read it carefully, slowly, and understood almost every word. He smiled. "I did it," he whispered. That small victory gave him courage to try more. Every step built on the last one. Every success, no matter how small, reminded him that he was capable. Have you ever tried something small, day after day, and noticed a change? Maybe learning a few words in English, maybe practicing a skill, maybe writing a small story. Small steps are powerful. Daniel learned that lesson with his own life. Confidence did not appear all at once. It did not come from perfect performance or from others praising him. Confidence came from trying, failing, and trying again. Each attempt, each small success, was a brick in the foundation of his self-belief. And slowly, Daniel felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt hope, not as a small candle, but as a light growing steadily inside him. Weeks passed, and Daniel's small steps began to show results. One morning, his English teacher gave the class a short reading assignment. Daniel felt nervous, as always, but he decided to try. He opened the book and started reading slowly, sounding out each word. At first, his voice shook. Some words were difficult, and he stumbled over them. But he did not stop. He remembered the old man's words: mistakes are your friends. When he reached the end of the paragraph, he realized he understood almost everything. His heart raced with excitement. For the first time, he felt proud of his effort. Later that day, during English practice, the teacher asked a question. Daniel raised his hand, feeling a little nervous. He answered clearly, and the teacher smiled. She nodded and said, "Good job, Daniel." No one laughed. No one judged. That small acknowledgement meant more than Daniel could say. He whispered to himself, "I am improving. I can do this." That evening, he wrote in his notebook, "Today I learned. Today I succeeded." Each sentence he wrote reminded him of his progress. He felt stronger inside. He realized that learning was not about being perfect. Learning was about trying, again and again, and celebrating small victories. Daniel thought about all the times he had felt hopeless, all the nights he had cried alone. Now he understood something important: those moments were not wasted. They had brought him here, to this small but real success. Have you ever noticed small improvements in yourself? Maybe you learned one word you could not before, maybe you completed a task you thought was too hard. Every small improvement is proof that you are growing. Daniel was learning that lesson with every step he took. The more he practiced, the more confident he became. The more confident he became, the more he wanted to try. And slowly, the heavy sadness he carried for so long began to lift, replaced by hope, curiosity, and a quiet determination to keep moving forward. A few days after his first improvement, Daniel noticed something new happening in class. During an English activity, the teacher asked the students to work in pairs and ask each other questions in English. At first, Daniel felt nervous. He thought, what if I make a mistake? What if my partner laughs? But he remembered the old man's words, mistakes are your friends. One small step is better than no step at all. So he took a deep breath and joined a classmate for the exercise. At first, he spoke slowly, carefully choosing words. His partner listened patiently and responded kindly. Daniel felt relief. He tried again and again, asking small questions and answering questions. Every time he spoke, he felt a little braver. His partner smiled and said, "Good job, Daniel." It was a simple sentence, but for Daniel, it felt like a prize. His classmates began to notice him differently. Some nodded when he answered questions. Some asked him to repeat words, and he could do it. Slowly, Daniel realized he was no longer invisible. He was participating. He was learning. He was contributing. That evening, he wrote in his notebook, "I spoke to someone in English. I am proud." The feeling of pride grew inside him, warm and steady. He began to believe in himself, not because someone praised him, but because he had taken action. Each small success built on the previous ones. Each small step gave him courage to try the next one. Daniel was learning something important. Progress is not a single big leap, but many small victories strung together. Have you ever had a small success that gave you courage? Maybe learning one word, completing one task, or trying something you were afraid to do. That success, no matter how small, can change everything. Daniel felt that change inside himself. For the first time in a long time, he looked forward to tomorrow. He wanted to try again. He wanted to take another small step. And with each step, he realized that hope was no longer a distant dream. It was becoming real. Daniel felt a new energy. Each day he took small steps in English, and each day he felt a little stronger. He started reading more sentences, writing more words, and even trying small conversations with classmates. His mistakes did not feel like failures anymore. They were lessons. Every mistake showed him where to improve. He started to see his progress clearly. His notebook was full of words, sentences, and small achievements. He looked at it often and smiled. "I am learning," he whispered. Each small victory built on the last one. Momentum was growing inside him, a steady rhythm of effort and success. Daniel realized something important: when you keep trying, even slowly, things begin to change. His confidence was growing, and with confidence came courage. Paragraph 20, Believing in effort. One morning, Daniel remembered all the failures he had suffered. He thought about the nights of sadness, the times he had wanted to give up. Now, he smiled. "I am still learning," he said to himself. And that is enough. He realized that success was not about being perfect. Success was about effort. Every small step mattered. Every try mattered. Daniel felt proud of himself, not because others praised him, but because he was moving forward. He knew that learning, like life, is a journey. Each day, he grew a little more. He understood that mistakes were part of learning, not a reason to stop. Weeks passed, and Daniel felt different inside. He was no longer the boy who hid in the back of the classroom. He raised his hand. He answered questions. He read aloud without fear. He spoke to classmates with small sentences. Every time he succeeded, his inner confidence grew. He realized that confidence was not something people give you. It is something you build, step by step, day by day. Daniel smiled every morning because he knew he could face the day, no matter how hard it seemed. Daniel learned to accept mistakes. When he mispronounced a word or forgot a sentence, he laughed softly at himself. "It is okay," he whispered. "Mistakes help me learn." He understood that every person who learns something new makes mistakes. Even teachers and adults make mistakes. Learning was not a test of perfection. It was a journey he could enjoy. The sadness of the past no longer controlled him. Daniel's hope was growing steadily. It was no longer just a small spark, it was a light inside his heart. Every day, he felt excited to try. Every day, he felt proud of the little steps he took. He understood that life is about trying, not waiting for success to come by itself. He was ready to face challenges and enjoy every small victory along the way. Months passed, and Daniel's change became visible. He was more confident, more motivated, more curious. He no longer feared English or school. He participated in lessons, answered questions, and even helped classmates. His teachers noticed his progress and praised his effort. Daniel had transformed from a boy full of doubt into a young learner full of hope. His transformation was not magic, it was the result of patience, effort, and small steps. Daniel realized that he was stronger than he had believed. Every failure, every sad night, every laugh from classmates had taught him something. He learned resilience, patience, and courage. He learned that giving up is easy, but trying again is powerful. He now approached every challenge with determination, knowing that each small step brought him closer to his goals. At last, Daniel fully believed in himself. He no longer questioned his abilities. He knew he could learn, grow, and succeed. He understood that setbacks are not the end, they are part of life. Daniel felt free from fear and doubt. He felt ready for the future, ready to face anything with hope, courage, and a strong heart. Maybe you also feel lost sometimes. Maybe you feel that learning English is too hard. Maybe you feel your dreams are impossible. But Daniel's story shows that even small steps can change everything. Every effort counts. Every try matters. You can believe again. You can learn again. You can grow. Take one small step today. Think about your own life. Have you ever stopped believing in yourself? Have you ever felt like giving up? Remember Daniel. Remember the small steps he took. Repeat after me, I can try. I can improve. I can succeed. Say it slowly. Feel the meaning of each word. You are stronger than you think. Every small step matters. Your journey may not be easy. You will make mistakes. You may feel afraid. But every small step forward is a victory. Keep going. Do not give up. Speak a word, write a sentence, try again. Every effort builds your confidence, your courage, and your hope. You can transform your life, just like Daniel. This story is not just about Daniel. It is about you. Every person has doubts, fears, and moments of sadness. But every person also has the power to try, to take small steps, and to grow. Believe again. Take one step today. Your future is waiting. Your dreams are waiting. And your heart is ready. Remember, one small step can change everything.